Alright guys, so we actually have a pretty interesting video. It's some Call of Duty drama almost, and we don't really know exactly what is going on here, but Michael Condrey is claiming that IW, Infinity Ward, is being pushed by Activision executives to make Modern Warfare more controversial and darker. So that's a very interesting claim there from Michael Condrey. There's a bunch of different ways we can look at this here. Let's first go through where this is from, what, Michael Condrey, obviously formerly a part of Sledgehammer Games. He has his own studio now, and he's not under Activision's umbrella, so that's probably why he's speaking out against this stuff, against Activision. And I mean, I don't really know if this is negative necessarily, but he does an interview at E3, or he had some sort of interview right after E3 with some magazine, and he talked about a bunch of different stuff as to why they're making Modern Warfare. And is that the case? Is Infinity Ward only making Modern Warfare so realistic, so violent, because Activision's telling them to do so, because it's going to create publicity and it's going to get people riled up and it's going to get people interested in Call of Duty again? It's a very interesting argument, and people have said that before, but maybe he's actually saying something that makes sense here. So let's go through what is going on here. So an interesting quote from Michael Condrey, former studio head of Sledgehammer Games 2009 through 2018, has surfaced in an interview with VentureBeat post E3. In this interview with Michael Condrey, he seems to be claiming that Activision executives might be pushing Infinity Ward to make Call of Duty Modern Warfare more controversial and darker for the sake of headlines. I maintain that video games are the most important art form of our time. I respect every developer who strives to deliver their work as an extension or reflection of their artistic vision. That being said, Modern Warfare seems like a tough challenge for any studio, especially if they're being pushed by publishing to be more controversial and darker for the sake of headlines. And that's literally what he said as a response to one of the questions he was given in this interview. So this does not line up with what Infinity Ward has mentioned during our time at the studio. It seems more like everyone at the studio wanted to make this game, and that Activision executives were hesitant on how far they should take it. So we're not so sure where this quote from Condrey comes from, or if he's claiming this based on his sentiment of Activision executives. Activision has been known to give the development teams creative freedom in developing their titles based on experience, providing approvals and budgeting, as every publisher does in the video game industry. So that's the information we have right now, and this is actually so interesting because obviously there are two complete different sides here of what people think, or at least Michael Condrey versus Activision, maybe even versus Infinity Ward, as to what everyone is thinking here. So obviously, what we have known from Infinity Ward so far from their reveal is that they are passionate about this project. They want to go back to their roots. They want to make this Call of Duty as real as possible. You guys know a bunch of the old Infinity Ward devs and directors came back from MW2, back and joined on the team for this new Call of Duty. And, a bunch of different things have made it seem like they're really trying to make this Call of Duty as gritty as possible. And it's like from their heart, it's their passion. They want to do it, and not really Activision telling them to do so. And if you want my opinion, when I first saw Modern Warfare revealed and I saw that they were branding it as this controversial and violent and realistic video game, I didn't think that would ever happen. I mean, we're moving into a culture where this stuff isn't really allowed. You would think they would become more cartoonish, more Fortnite-esque, appealing to a wider audience, appealing to, kids and stuff like this. Like, that's the culture we're moving into. Obviously, subtle things, like if you remember zombies back in the day, they used to have the Nazi flags in Kino de Toten, and as we moved on into Black Ops 3, they took out the Nazi flag and replaced it with something a bit less sort of, controversial, which was the, the Iron Cross or something. And they've been slowly, not censoring, but moving towards a point where everything is done to be less controversial. And now all of a sudden they switch it up, and Modern Warfare is just the most controversial game we've ever seen. Does Activision want to do that because they know people are going to be riled up and interested in this game and there's just going to be a lot of publicity? Or are they actually trying to limit Infinity Ward as much as possible because they know that they might get bad press like they've been seeing? Now, is Condrey making any sense, or is he just sort of out to get Activision? Now, like I said, again, he's not with Activision anymore, and we're not exactly so sure what happened, but we do know, and pretty much every World War II YouTuber, everyone that played World War II knows that once Condrey left Sledgehammer Games around mid played World War II, that's when a lot of people said the game got better, and people were saying that Condrey was really the one, and Glenn Schofield as well. Like, both of them were the guys that were sort of holding the game back, and there was, part of the reason as to why that game was so bad and finally got halfway decent. I know a lot of you guys that played World War II have said that the game had gotten better, as the months progressed, especially after those two left the studio. So that's actually very interesting that people are saying that. So maybe again he was pushed out, and people just didn't like him, and who knows exactly what happened, and now he's sort of against all of these guys here, and he has some sort of animosity for some reason. Who knows? That could be a reason why. Condrey could just be saying this just because he's just making stuff up. I think that's very true. He could have just said like, oh, Activision's forcing them to make this game for headlines, because why else? Condrey doesn't really need to talk anything good about this game. He's not under Activision anymore. He's not making Call of Duty. He has his own studio, so Condrey probably does not care at all. So if that's the case, then Condrey is just being like a sore loser. I mean, I don't know exactly what happened, but he's just making stuff up for his own headlines. But he does make some sense there. I'm not saying what he's saying is completely irrelevant, because obviously that could be something that Activision, like, I wouldn't put it past Activision to force a company, a studio, to make a certain game more controversial because they want more sales. I mean, Activision stock is pretty low right now, and they need Call of Duty to get back to its prime, and maybe they thought, the way to do this is to make Infinity Ward have this crazy Call of Duty game, and that does make sense. So, I mean, I understand both sides of the argument. Let me know down below what you guys think. I think in the end, you have to believe Infinity Ward. They seem pretty passionate. They seem like they really want to make a good game, and it doesn't seem like, they were being forced. You just don't get that vibe from them that they're being forced to make this type of game. Maybe Activision told them to make a controversial game, and now they sort of just like it anyway. That could be the case as well. But as of now, I just don't think that they're being forced to do it. So Condrey is just, being a weirdo, talking about some weird stuff. And again, we'll see how this all pans out very soon. I just thought that was very interesting that there's sort of this, not really beef, but this weird sort of disconnect between Condrey and what's actually happening at Activision and Infinity Ward. So let me know what you guys think about this. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the video, and be sure to leave a like, leave a comment below. Condrey, if you watched the whole video, is greatly appreciated. And yeah, I'll see you guys later.